All of the predictions today are based upon questions that you've sent in. So this has come in particularly through the patrons and through the YouTube members, but also some of the ones that I put on the posts. So always keep an eye open for the posts and put your questions when you see one pop up, or if you're a member or you're a patron, always keep sending me your questions because they're very inspiring and they help me to make a good program. What is your take on the military marches in China? Well, the military marches in China are, of course, something that I think should be of concern to us all. And the thing that I found almost amusing was the way that the Chinese Communist Party made such a fuss about how they won the Second World War, hand in hand with Russia and possibly even North Korea if we stretch it even further. But they didn't win the war against Japan. They didn't. It wasn't that. It was the Chinese people that won the war against Japan. It wasn't the Chinese Communist Party. In fact, it was the Chinese nationalists, the ones that won, those that were pushed out and down into Taiwan. So they're taking credit for another party's actions. But of course, we mustn't underestimate the terrible suffering that the Chinese people went through, the awful battles that happened there in China, and the millions of people that were killed, and the terrible atrocities that happened. But it wasn't the Chinese Communist Party that made that great achievement, what they're marching about today. So I also have warned about the dangerous alliance already that will emerge between China and Russia and the new axis of evil, particularly that we have. India is also involved there, but I don't see India staying part of that alliance for very long. But they are kind of a bit compromised in many respects because they have the oil coming in from Russia, which they need, and the armaments that they've bought from Russia, which they need, and the parts of those things that they need. And also, they've been snubbed by Trump. So the whole thing with India being there is a bit of a poke in the eye back to Trump, saying, "Hey, look, we can choose our sides. You better treat us a bit better. We don't want all these tariffs that you put upon us." But it's a bit of a wake-up call, all of this, really, for the West, because we cannot, from what Modi's saying to us here, rely on the fact that an Indian democracy won't side with the forces that are rising in China, and I think they're getting bedfellows with a very dangerous party there, because I think China one day will give India a kick, and it could be very dangerous for India in the future if they're not careful. And this is talking a long way ahead, but I feel that India will become a very powerful country in due course, and I've spoken about this before, and China won't like that, and Russia won't either. And this could be you're getting in with dangerous bedfellows, Modi. You've given Trump the message, and you also didn't like the fact that he claimed victory for the peace in Pakistan, with Pakistan. That was India's doing, not really America's doing. So there we go. So there's dangerous ways ahead is my take on this. A prediction for this? Well, I'm reminded of my earlier predictions on this, and I've said already that in time, Xi Jinping will fall from power and that China will break into multiple nations. So these are the things I've already said. And this is all, like I say, history opens slowly. The events of history don't happen instantly. But this shows, in many ways, this show of power will bind China together for the short term. But for now, that will happen. But I still feel an economic downturn will happen in China, which will eventually destroy the Communist Party, the Chinese Communist Party. And I see this actually fully happening in 2030. That will be an important turning point. But there will be moves before that too, that could succeed. We're not stuck with milestones like this. Although these things are set and these things are set to happen, we can bring things forward or push them further back. But I feel that 2030 is going to be an important turning point for China. Major disruptions at that time. So remember also, we've got free will. So nothing is set in stone. But that's my thoughts about China and where it's going. And that's my thoughts initially about some of the military marches that are happening in China. Very dangerous. I think we should pay a lot of attention to it. Well, thanks for all your questions. Some brilliant ones there, and I could only cover a few of them. So do keep sending them in, because there were some brilliant ones in there today, and very well thought out, and so many others that I'd love to cover, and I will try to cover some more of those. But do keep sending them in. If you're on the public, you'll see I occasionally put up a post asking for questions, and I can take some of the questions from there. If your question don't get asked the first time, just keep posting, please, and you'll find that eventually I'll hopefully get round to yours. As I know there's so many issues I'd like to be able to cover. And don't forget also, if you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe, because I'm going to put some more videos up like this, lots more coming up. And always give us that thumbs up. Don't forget to give us that thumbs up. So thanks for your questions today, and make a comment now. What do you think? What's your opinion about some of these things that have come up in the question section of the video today? Really interesting things there. What do you think? Where's it all going to go? What's going to happen? There's so many things. So your comments are very important. Now, don't forget, I'm also been working on this AI, and I've created an oracle. And I'm working on that oracle, and it will answer your questions. So if you'd like to go on the list to be one of the first to use it, please do see the link in the description, because that is something that I think you would thoroughly enjoy. So that's it for this week, guys. Thank you for joining Coffee with Craig. Go and get your Coffee with Craig mug, perhaps, and join me for a sip of coffee, which I don't often do on the show, do I? But anyway, thank you. Next time, we've got some interesting stuff coming up. I'm looking again into the Naadis, and I've got a funny feeling there's something interesting there that I'm going to be able to show you next week. Something that seems to suggest that there could be a golden age about to be born. And maybe there are people here that might facilitate that in the future. So anyway, see you soon. See you next time. Bye for now. If you look back at my earlier predictions, and in particular the predictions I made on the newspaper, The Sun's website, I did actually say on there, the actual words were, there will be a flu epidemic linked to bioterrorism. And my thoughts are that Liz Truss will make it to the final, be the next PM. I think she will actually have a final battle between her and Rishi Sunak. We've not seen the full end of Boris Johnson either, I tell you. But Rishi Sunak actually will eventually, I feel, be the next leader of the Conservatives. So I think there's going to be a few conflicts that Britain's going to be drawn into, including I think Russia is going to take some moves against Ukraine. I think she will make it past her platinum jubilee, which comes up this year. But I think after that, we'll see a sudden and quick deterioration in the Queen's health. And I think we might lose the Queen towards the end of 2022. There's going to be a huge backlash
from over the Netflix programs and screening, because I feel it comes out at a bad time. Charles will come to become King Charles, but his reign, I feel, will be short.
I said that Prince Charles would be hit by an egg. And of course, there it is, all in the press today. Marvellous person she is. She does something extraordinary. That could even put her life a little bit at risk with the way she did this. Okay.
Is there something also there that's not been spoken about fully? Did they also discover something with Kate that wasn't quite right?
A huge swarm of people knocking the doors of Europe and America. And I feel that Ukraine conflict is going to be a kind of a grinding conflict that goes on and on. I also feel that there's something going to happen in the Middle East as well. I feel as if there's going to be a sudden and unexpected thing happen in the Middle East. So I feel they're going to take it into their own hands, and I feel we're going to get a strike from Israel. This is going to be one of the significant things in 2023.
I've said it before and I say it again. I feel Israel, with the help from the USA, will strike the Iranian nuclear facilities.
I said that there would be an earthquake that would shake New York.
At this time, I've been sensing that for a while that there's going to be a big earthquake of some sort, and this could well come up during April period.
I'm seeing a bridge collapsing, actually the whole infrastructure of it going.
I predict something very dark happens to President Joe Biden. He's been pulled from power, sacked, as it were, and quite close to the election time. But I kind of sense it's more to do with illness, perhaps, senility, and people stopping him because of that. So it could even be that a new candidate will run for the presidential nominee. I predict that Trump will win the November 2024 election. And I feel very strongly that the black vote is going to move towards Trump. See him as a sort of a bit of a cool guy. I can't see Trump being put in jail despite what they're throwing at him. I can't see a jail sentence with him. But I get the feeling one of the candidates has an attempt on the candidate's life. Could there have been a plan to assassinate either him or Trump, perhaps? There's going to be an assassination attempt on Trump, I think. That will fail, but he might maybe get wounded or something like that. A hit or attack on our airplanes, on passenger flights or even freight flights. Because I also had at a similar time, I was also seeing this image of helicopters on fire as well.
I seem to see like the west of America on fire and the east of America underwater, huge winds. And I actually saw, just like we had a major problem here in the UK where a tower block went up on fire, I see a tower block deserted.
In Sweden, I saw Stockholm, and I saw the ship there. I think it's called Vasa, and I felt as if there was an attempt to try to set that boat on fire. And there will be mass layoffs. He's going to do to the government what he did to X, which is basically, let's pretty much sack everybody and let's re-employ those that are any good. I feel that Musk and Trump ultimately fall out. So I predict that they'll have a major fallout in the end. And more government control in cryptocurrencies. And, you know, I saw this image as well of the Eiffel Tower against the backdrop of burning Paris. Is there a big fire in Paris? That this year I saw big earthquake coming. Now, could that be coming soon? Could that be also coming soon on top of this? Because that was what I was seeing before. And you know, like I say, like that Santa Monica where I thought the pier was going up on fire, that was obviously symbolic perhaps of Santa Monica going up on fire, because the fires are right on the doorstep of Santa Monica, is that there's going to be a major earthquake around both sides of the Pacific Rim. But it is like that. I felt as if there was something, a big plate move that affected right over from America to Japan.